name is Krista Gauthier, and I'm the founder and executive director of an organization called Sliding Doors STEM and Dyslexia Learning Center based in Northern Virginia. Sliding Doors was founded and inspired by the experience we had with our own child with dyslexia. It was taking that journey with our daughter that we realized two very important things. The first is that children with dyslexia need to be taught to read using a specialized method designed for them. And that a lot of times the schools are unable to deliver this kind of curriculum, and that to get it outside the school becomes very expensive. The second thing we learned is that people with dyslexia tend to excel in STEM fields, or fields such as science, technology, engineering, and math. And for us, it was a real light bulb moment of realizing that maybe we don't fill STEM fields because the very people who would fill it get discouraged at a young age and don't pursue those fields due to a lack of confidence and a loss of the love of learning. Specifically about this idea of graphic design. One of the things that we found fascinating when we dove in and started learning everything we possibly could about dyslexia was this idea that dyslexics, as much as people call dyslexia a disability, in a lot of ways it's truly an amazing ability. And it gives them certain gifts that make them uniquely suited, especially for graphic design. The first thing is that a lot of times people with dyslexia are amazing spatial and creative and visual thinkers, which are skills certainly necessary to excel in graphic design. They also are big picture thinkers. They're top-down thinkers. So the way that they approach the world and the way they interpret the world gives them this unique ability to really excel in something like graphic design. So then how would we, a good question would be then, how do we use graphic design to maybe encourage or help these children learn? And one of the things that really came to mind when I was asked this question is something that we talk a lot about, which is something called universal design learning. And universal design learning is the idea of designing curriculums that are meant to access people and meet them where they are. So basically, think of it this way. So you have a project, or you're thinking about assessing if a student has learned the curriculum or the information, right? Many times, a lot of the ways we do that is in written form. So, for example, we do exams, we ask for papers, both of which are examples of, areas where children with dyslexia would struggle a little bit, and it would certainly inhibit them from showing their full potential and their full what they've learned. So something like universal design learning would allow students to show what they have learned in a multitude of ways. So for example, say you have a child and you want to know, have they learned everything they need to know about ancient Egypt, right? So, again, a lot of people will default to writing a paper or a test, but think of it if you allowed a student to build a pyramid, right? And then, or do a PowerPoint, presentation with images, right? Or give an oral presentation. All of these are ways in which a child with dyslexia can really shine and show people what they know. So when you think of it in terms of graphic design, if you had a graphic design element, right, to your project, if you allowed these students who are visual thinkers to represent what they know and what they've learned through graphic design, right, you would have a far more effective way of assessing what these children know and also allowing them to build their confidence and to really feel like that they're doing their best. And I think that would be something like that would be a really great fit for graphic design in terms of using it for assessment. In terms of my opinion of computer-based graphic design being a better medium for visual learner than paper canvas, that's an interesting question because, again, I mentioned at the beginning of this that people with dyslexia tend to excel in STEM fields. Technology certainly is the T in that, right? So if you are using more of a computer-based graphic design, I think especially in today's day and age where these children spend a great deal of time in virtual worlds, I think you give them a huge advantage in being able to use graphic design or computer-based graphic design to illustrate what they've learned or to teach them different things than, say, using paper and canvas. I would point out, though, that sometimes paper and canvas is also a good thing because it's a tactile medium. So, for example, a lot of times these kids have things like ADHD or other comorbid conditions that, maybe that tactile, that touching, that being able to actually use their hands, on paper and canvas also represents an advantage from that perspective. So either one works extremely well, and both bring their advantages to this for sure. So in terms of other scopes that graphic designers can explore for improving learning abilities, that's again, it goes back to that universal design learning that I mentioned. And one of the things too is that because of the way these children think, if graphic designers could actually work on turning curriculum from the written word to a more visual representation, I think would be really interesting. So for example, representing things with images or sound in a more multi-dimensional way, as opposed to this very flat two-dimensional word-based format that so many curriculums are delivered in, I think would be really valuable. It'd be interesting to explore how graphic designers could work with curriculum, or textbook companies to create sort of these visual representations of traditional curriculums. And I think anything that we can do to sort of lower those barriers of access to curriculum for these students would be amazing. Things of that sort. I think what they would bring to the graphic design world is the same thing that we as an organization believe that they would bring to the STEM fields in general, right? Which is this amazing multi-dimensional 3D visual creative thinking that would just show us the world in such an amazing light. And I think by giving these children access and encouraging them to pursue something like graphic design not only is a gift to them because it helps boost their confidence because it's some place they can excel, but it also helps the rest of us, because when we really step back and we really start to see what these children can contribute to the world, then all of us benefit from the amazing people that they are. So thank you for this opportunity.